Gotta do a couple things here real quick. Turn this into a boat. Okay. Anybody nervous about going in the water? No, just me? Actually, you know what's funny? Is we get guests from all over the world. You know, not everybody speaks English. You'd be surprised how many people have no idea they're about to drive into the water. Alright, you want to swim fast? You want to go slow? Slow it is.
Ai, que frio!
You know, I always feel like I'm forgetting something when I do this. No, I got it. Alright, just like that, we are a boat. The wheels are still turning, they still spin, everything's the same. The only difference is that now there's a propeller spinning. Other than that, it's you don't have to do anything different. And I gotta be kind of quiet as you go through this. It's actually a residential area. It's a client zone. And it's because there's so many people that live on these boats, houseboats here. You live on these year round. I'll talk about it with Russ.
Olha que legal nessas casinhas. Que mora aqui?
Mora com certeza.
A bicicleta. Oh, uma casa bem legal. Nossa, deve ser super divertido. Mas deve ser um frio.
Ele falou que tá indo mais devagar aqui porque é residencial, então pode ter muito barulho.
Ah, que legal. Residencial.
Olha essa casinha pequenininha.
Ai, que bonitinha. Vou filmar a casa dos outros. Nossa, mas são casas bem pequenininhas, né?
Quanto dinheiro será que tem uma pessoa que tem um barco desse?
Nossa. E uma casa dessa? Ai, que frio. Ai, meu Deus. Olha que legal a ponte.
Yeah, we got smallmouth bass here. And trout. And if you stare into that glare off the water right there, there's our skyline. There's Seattle. There's Space Needle. There's all these cranes, all this construction going on. We're one of the fastest growing cities in the country. We're actually the fastest growing city on the West Coast.
Ui. Eu vou estar vigilando, grava um pouco.
Well, this is Lake Union they're on right now. And when they first settled Seattle back in 1851, right from the start, Seattle always wanted to be a really big city. And in 1854, just 3 years later, they started to map things out and name things. They named this Lake Union because they wanted this lake to be the union between Lake Washington, which is on the other side of that hill over there. It's the second largest lake in the state, and the saltwater of the Pacific Ocean. So if they could unite these three bodies of water, they could bring in large ocean-going vessels like this cruise ship right here, or that big white fishing boat right there, that trawler. They figured if they could bring in these big ocean-going vessels into this protected freshwater harbor, then they could create this big maritime industry, and that would help them grow to be a very big city very quickly. Well, it took them 60 years. There were 7 different attempts, and then finally, around the turn of the century, they managed to cut a ditch back there between these two lakes called the Montlake Cut. And Lake Washington used to be 9 feet higher than Lake Union. And Lake Union was half the size that it is now. Once they cut that ditch between these two lakes, all that extra water flooded into Lake Union and doubled the size of this lake. So Lake Union is partially man-made. And now it's a working lake. Before it was only about 10 feet deep and it was isolated. Now it's about 40 feet deep. And you can bring in pretty much as big a boat as you want. Well, once they had these two freshwater lakes joined up, then they dug a canal all the way to the salt water. And at the end of this canal are the Battle Docks. And if you get a chance, you gotta go check out the barrel locks. It's my favorite. You been there? It's amazing, right? I love the locks. My favorite part of Seattle. I live right next to them. I go there all the time. But these barrel locks, they were built at the same time as the Panama Canal, and one of the busiest lock systems in the world. Over 85,000 boats go through these locks every year. And what these locks do is a couple things. One, they act like a dam to keep the fresh water in. 'Cause these freshwater lakes are about 10 or 20 feet higher than the salt water. So they act like a dam to keep the water in. But they're also a way of bringing boats back and forth between the fresh water up here and the salt water down here. And the way that a lock works is really simple. You gotta imagine that a lock is like a big bathtub with doors or gates on both sides. And when you want to go out into the salt water, what you do is you drive into the lock. Well, the gates are open on this side. They close the gates behind you. Then they open up a couple of valves and they drain the water out. They drain the fresh water that's inside the lock out into the salt water. And it brings all the boats down. When the boats get down to the same level as the salt water, they open up the gates and you drive out.